afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, China says it has arrested 3 alleged Filipino spies. Aurora province, famous for its Baler surfing scene, prepares for the influx of tourists this vacation season. South Korea's constitutional court upholds the impeachment of President Yoon Yeol. And a look at the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2. Thanks for joining us. We begin with the headlines. China claiming to have arrested 3 Filipino spies. Beijing says one of the suspects had been found conducting espionage activities near military facilities. It further claims the individuals had provided a large amount of military-related and confidential video materials to Philippine agents. National Security Council spokesman Jonathan Malaya says the DFA is still looking into the claim. This comes after at least 5 alleged Chinese spies were arrested in the Philippines earlier this year. Beijing claims Manila fabricated the cases and says, quote, without clear facts.
China firmly opposes this and has made solemn representations on many occasions. China urges the Philippines to stop making groundless accusations, handle individual cases involving Chinese citizens in accordance with the law and fairly, and effectively protect the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese citizens in the Philippines.
中方敦促菲方停止捕风捉影。
Senator Jinggoy Estrada loses an appeal to junk the Graft charges filed against him in connection with the infamous pork barrel scam. Estrada faces 11 counts of graft due to his alleged misuse of discretionary funds worth 183 million pesos. The Sandigan Bayan denied his motion to dismiss the case, saying the plaintiff clearly proved that the senator's PDAF was systematically pocketed. Estrada was found guilty of bribery in January 2024, but was acquitted of plunder. The country's inflation rate falls down to its lowest level in nearly 5 years. The CPI was recorded at 1.8% in March from 2.1% in February. It is much lower than the 3.5% forecast of the central bank. The Philippine Statistics Authority attributes the lower inflation rate to slower price increases in food and alcoholic beverages. The MMDA beefing up security measures ahead of the expected Holy Week exodus. Our mobility correspondent G. Baroga joins us on the line for the details. G, go ahead.
More than a week before the Holy Week, the MMDA announces the agency's
on the line there, G. We will get back to you in a bit. Aurora province, where the famous Baler is located, has also been preparing for the influx of tourists this vacation season. As Francis Falve tells us, additional police personnel had been deployed to the area.
A few days before the anticipated break for Holy Week and summer, business and tourism in Baler slowly pick up. Groups of motorcycle riders took souvenir photo in the town's landmarks. This is Khaled Osmani's first time to visit the Philippines. He came from Sweden and is only staying for a few days. That's why he's trying to see as many attractions in the town as possible.
I have been around because I love swimming and try to learn surfing.
Baler Aurora is famous for surfing waves, and returning to Sabang Beach is included in Pedro Lox's bucket list. He took his family with him to experience the beach and the waves.
Uling punta ko dito 2015 pa. So, nag-mark sa akin to kasi dito ako first natutong mag-surf. And alam ko yung spot na to, pang surfing talaga, pang beginner. Siyempre, ako beginner. Sa ibang magagaling, astig din yung swell dito. And mababaw.
Locals lost livelihood since they've experienced a decline in their tourism industry during the pandemic. They are hopeful that this year will be a good year for business and tourism. Tourist police has already been deployed in strategic places for security and to assist their guests. Traffic rerouting will be implemented as well.
Baler Tourism Office expects more guests to visit and ride their waves, which according to them is the birth of Philippine surfing.
PNP warns the public to take extra caution. PNP data shows high drowning incidents during summer season. They in fact recorded 125 cases in 2023 and 90 last year. The PNP Maritime Group's task is for port security and quick response in recreational and coastal emergencies.
Sila pa yung may tasking upang palakasin po yung ating kampanya para maiwasan po yung drown incident sa mga tourist spots na may mga paliguan po. Ang pinakamalaki po ay ang Region 1 na alam naman natin na may mga magagandang beaches at po yung Region 4A po.
The Highway Patrol Group, meanwhile, will serve as safety marshals and reinforcements to ongoing COMELEC-initiated checkpoints. Francis Polbe, Bellionario News Channel.
U.S. allies aren't happy with the reciprocal tariffs imposed by Trump 2.0. France calls the move brutal and unfounded and a shock for international trade. It now calls on European companies to suspend planned investments in the United States.
C'est que l'ampleur,
the scale and the negative dimension of the tariffs will impact above all the American economy. And one thing is sure after last night, the American economy and Americans, be that businesses or the people, will come out of this weaker and poorer than yesterday.
Canada also ready in countermeasures against Trump's tariffs. The Canadian government says it will also impose a 25% tariff on all vehicles imported from the United States.
We will fight to bring each of these tariffs to an end. We're fighting in courts, challenging that these tariffs have been illegally imposed under U.S. law. We've gone to the World Trade Organization because these actions are against international trade law.
President Trump defends his latest round of steep tariffs. He insists the new policy will eventually have a positive impact on the American economy.
We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years.
The remarks come even as financial markets took a dive on his plans. The S&P 500 recorded its biggest one-day loss since 2020. Trump says the market slide was expected. Impeached South Korean President Yeol ousted. That's after the Constitutional Court upheld Parliament's impeachment motion over Yoon's short-lived imposition of martial law last year. With Yoon's ouster, a presidential election is required to take place within 60 days. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo will continue to serve as acting president until a new leader is inaugurated. Yoon declared martial law on December 3 to fight what he called anti-state forces. It was lifted just hours later after being rejected by Parliament. We're taking a break, still to come. The master of horror John Carpenter gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Entertainment and sports up next. Stay with us. As we reported earlier, the MMDA is heightening security measures ahead of the expected Holy Week exodus. Our mobility correspondent G. Baroga joins us on the line for the details. G, go ahead.
More than a week before the Holy Week, the MMDA announces the agency's preparation for the expected influx of motorists and commuters traveling to the provinces for the long break. From Holy Wednesday, April 16, until Monday, April 21, a day after the Easter, a total of 2,542 MMDA personnel will be deployed across bus stations and airports in the metropolis. MMDA Chairman Don Artes says the agency allows provincial buses to traverse EDSA from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. starting April 9. Given that buses coming from the north will only be able to go up to Cubao, while those from the south will be limited to Pasay. From April 16 to 20, this will be extended to 24 hours. The MMDA adds 6 portable CCTVs will be deployed along major provincial bus terminals and EDSA to monitor passenger volume. The agency will allow concrete reblockings within specific areas to be announced on their social media pages. Tow trucks and ambulances will also be pre-positioned in key areas along EDSA, such as Cubao, Artigas, and Timog, for incidents that will need quick response from authorities. The number coding scheme will be suspended on April 17 and 18 as national holidays, but will be back in effect on April 21st. Mai?
G, the EDSA rehabilitation project is supposed to also begin within the month. How are authorities making sure that this will not worsen the traffic situation?
My MMDA Chairman Don Artes says coordination planning continues among transport agencies. He admits adjustments are being made considering how big the project is and its impact to traffic. Mai?
G. Baroga, thank you for that report. In sports, it's Creamline versus Petrogas in the PVL All-Filipino Conference Finals. The Cool Smashers swept the Choco Mucho Flying Titans in Game 3 of the semis Thursday. Bernadette Pons led the Cool Smashers with 14 points, plus 16 receptions, 7 digs, and an ace. Creamline is seeking to win its 5th straight conference crown. As for Petrogas, the Angels dominated the Akari Chargers in their semis matchup to reach a championship showdown. Brooke Van Sickle led Petrogas with 15 points. Game 1 of the finals is set on April 8 at the Smart Araneta Coliseum. Pinoy pride in the NBA as Houston Rockets star Jalen Green reps the country on Filipino Heritage Night with a special pair of sneakers. The Philam Rockets guard wore the signature kicks of Korea-based Filipino player Kevin Kiambao during Houston's game against the Utah Jazz. Acclaimed Filipino toy designer Quix Maiquez lent his artistic touch to the basketball shoe of the former LaSalle King archer. And it appears the shoes were Green's lucky charm as the Rockets beat the Jazz to clinch a playoff spot in the West. Jalen top scored for Houston with 22 points. In London, a wax figure of French footballer Kylian Mbappe is on display at Madame Tussauds. This is the second wax figure of the famous athlete. The first one was in Berlin. The studio says Mbappe's fame and presence is absolutely in line with King Charles and Queen Camilla, whose own statues are displayed in the same room.
Mbappe is absolutely fitting for this room. Global superstar icon, outstanding footballer, top of his career at the moment. His reaction, it was amazing. He was really humble. He said he was honoured, but we're really honoured.
In entertainment, the so-called master of horror, John Carpenter, gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The cult movie director was joined for the ceremony by The Thing co-stars Kurt Russell and Keith David. Aside from that film, Carpenter is also known for directing other landmark movies in the horror genre, such as Halloween and The Fog.
In 1968, I was a skinny kid from Bowling Green, Kentucky, walking these streets. I was looking for a career in Hollywood. Well, I found my career, and today I have found Hollywood.
There are very, very few directors whose signature is so clearly and instantly stamped upon a film that within 30 seconds of viewing it, the informed watcher can boldly and confidently say out loud, "Oh, that's directed by so-and-so." Well, John Carpenter is one of those rare, very few so-and-sos.
Stars descend in Las Vegas for the annual CinemaCon Trade Convention. The event is the largest gathering of movie theater owners around the world. Through CinemaCon, Hollywood studios hope to inspire a bit of confidence that the industry is coming back on track this year. The box office has endured a terrible start, reeling from high-profile flops like Disney's live-action Snow White and Captain America: Brave New World. We're taking another breather. Up next, a look at Nintendo Switch 2, which is set to be released in June. Stay with Newsfeed at noon.
Through the insightful discussions and in-depth analysis, we always empowered viewers to better understand the complexities of public affairs. Congratulations, On Point, for winning the Best Public Affairs Program at the 38 PMPC Star Awards for Television. Only here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
The day he asked me to be his girlfriend, I will never forget, because he said, "Are we going to try this? Will you be my girlfriend?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." He goes, "Okay, great." So he picks up his phone and he goes, "I'll cancel my date later." And I was just like, "Oh my God, what am I doing?"
What do you mean? You were gonna go date somebody else?
She was my first option.
I love it! Love on Top, every Saturday at 8 p.m. at Billionario News Channel.
You're still watching Newsfeed at noon. After 5 sessions, the Supreme Court ends its oral arguments on the petitions against the transfer of excess PhilHealth funds to the National Treasury. Government officials insist the move was valid. Joash Malimban filed this report from Baguio City.
Wala po kaming labag na batas.
Finance Secretary Ralph Recto stood firm that the transfer of the initial 60 billion pesos from PhilHealth to the National Treasury was legal. He clarified that the government did not touch the funds of direct contributors or those who paid their contributions to PhilHealth themselves. Based on their computations, the total 89.9 billion pesos set to be transferred came from indirect contributions or funds provided by the government itself.
Under the unprogrammed appropriations, 183.1 billion pesos po ang maaaring ibalik ng PhilHealth sa National Treasury. Yet, the DOF exercised a prudent and moral decision to limit the return to the excess, idle, and unused government subsidies from 2021 to 2023 because we did not want to touch the hard-earned contributions of the PhilHealth members.
Recto also noted the funds transferred to the National Treasury were still used for health-related projects, including payments amounting to over 100 billion pesos for frontliners during the COVID-19 pandemic. He also argued that the infrastructure projects, such as roads and bridges, contribute to the improvement of the country's health sector. Recto said these developments help transport patients who need to reach hospitals. He added that if they had not identified the hundreds of billions in unused PhilHealth funds, they would have remained idle and unutilized. But petitioners argue that under the Universal Healthcare Law, unused funds should not be touched. Instead, they should be placed in an investment reserve fund. The reserve fund, as stated by law, must be exclusively for PhilHealth use. Petitioners also claim that many contributors feel that they are not receiving the benefits they deserve from their contributions. If there were indeed excess funds, they say benefits should have been increased and premium contributions should have been lowered.
If there is excess of the reserves, then it follows, Your Honor, na dapat sinunod nila yung batas. And that is increase benefits and decrease premium contributions, which we didn't see, Your Honor.
Petitioners fear that if they lose the case, it could open the floodgates for other government-owned and controlled corporations such as the GSIS and SSS to have their funds taken as well. Recto had previously stated that PhilHealth was not the only GOCC they reviewed before deciding where to source reserve funds. But he pointed out that PhilHealth had massive amounts of what he called sleeping money.
We cannot afford na maging ano lang tayo, wala nang rule of law, ika nga, no? Bara-bara na lang. Ano pa kaya yung batas? Ano pa ang constitution? It will open the floodgates for other abuses, for other anomalies.
The session for oral arguments on the PhilHealth fund transfer controversy concluded in Baguio City. However, several legal processes must still be completed before the Supreme Court decides whether the funds transferred to the National Treasury will be returned to PhilHealth. This includes the submission of memoranda by all involved parties within a non-extendable period of 30 days, which will be included in the Supreme Court's deliberations. Joash Malimban, Billionaire News Channel.
Switching gears, the hit video game Minecraft comes to life in an exhibit in London. The immersive adventure experience features 7 rooms that look as if in a real Minecraft world. Fans can accomplish tasks like saving villagers from zombies, collecting gems, and crafting potions with their own guides. The exhibit is open for parents and kids alike.
First, we're stepping in the game. This is an authentic stepping in the game. You'll feel like you're in it. We work so hard on making it authentic. The second thing is we're going to go save the villagers. They sadly were attacked by a zombie siege, and they're all zombie villagers, so we need to save them.
And before we go, Nintendo finally unveils the successor to its hit Nintendo Switch. The Switch 2 offers overall hardware upgrades, such as a bigger screen with higher resolution. It will also have Joy-Cons with mouse controls and a native online chat function. The Switch 2 will launch June 5 and will have a Japanese retail price of 69,980 yen or 27,000 pesos for a multi-language console. The first Nintendo Switch has sold more than 150 million units. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Keep it here on the Billionaire News Channel. Happy weekend and good afternoon.